Good morning. I'm happy to be here even though I couldn't be with you in person. And I'm also very happy to talk with you about the new program that we're starting at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. We call our program Personalized Learning. And this photo that you see is of 4 young kids who participated in my inauguration last September. We invited kids from all over our region to come and participate, march in the procession with us as a way of symbolizing our connection to the schools throughout our region. But this photo's come to take different meaning for me. And that meaning now is, will these children be able to get a college degree someday? They look so cute and so happy here. But if we look at the statistics for our state, fewer than 20% of Maine citizens actually attain a baccalaureate degree. And in the region where we live, in Aroostook County in far northern Maine, fewer than 15% actually attain a baccalaureate degree. So in the very largest sense, that's why the University of Maine at Presque Isle is making the changes that it's making. So let me transition now to talking about what personalized learning is. You see on your screen a definition. Basically, what we're going to do is say we understand that not all students learn in exactly the same way and exactly the same time. And we will take a variety of approaches to helping our students learn. It does not mean, however, that students won't have to all accomplish the same learning outcomes. Our faculty have worked very hard over the last year to identify what we think are the critical things that all students have to know and be able to do by the time they graduate from the University of Maine at Presque Isle. We call these our essential learning outcomes, and I'm going to run through them for you here quickly. I won't go into detail because they're going to be familiar to you. The first one is, of course, the ability to solve problems. The second is being able to take personal responsibility and not be like one of these silly chickens up here. Civic engagement is also very important for the health of our communities and our democracy. Students need to know that it's important that they identify, work in their communities, and help solve community and civic problems. Communication skills are paramount. Everybody has to be able to communicate clearly in written form, in oral form, increasingly in video form. We talk a lot about innovation in this country and the desire and the need for innovation. We at the University of Maine at Presque Isle think that it's important to learn to be innovative and creative. And one way you do that is by engaging with the creative process and coming to have a deeper sense of aesthetic appreciation. And finally, we know that the masses of information that come towards us and our students are only going to become more massive in the future. And so we want all of our students to be able to sort through the different types of information and understand what's valid, what's not valid, and how to use that information responsibly. So these are the essential learning outcomes that all UMPI graduates will have to demonstrate before they are able to graduate. And I should clarify, they don't just have to get a passing grade on these. They will have to be proficient or beyond proficient in all aspects of these things. They can't excel in communication but not in aesthetic appreciation or civic engagement. Or they can't excel in just written communication and not be able to communicate clearly orally. A passing grade is not enough. They have to be proficient or above in all aspects of these essential learning outcomes. We've also identified learning outcomes for our general education program. We're basing these on the LEAP initiative that AASCU has been working on. Each of our major programs will have articulated learning outcomes. That's the work that will be done in this coming year. And in the areas where we will still have traditional courses, of course, each of those courses will have clearly identified learning outcomes. So having clearly identified learning outcomes, all students know that they have to reach is an essential part of personalized learning. What are some other elements of personalized learning? Students will be able to have what we call voice and choice. So a student can say to a professor, to achieve this outcome, I would like to do it this way. Okay, I would prefer, this is how I learn best, and I'd like to be able to show my learning in this way. So they have a voice in how they learn, and they have choice about how they demonstrate their learning. Another key component to personalized learning is that we flip time and learning. In the old system, time was the constant. You did everything by Friday, or you did everything by midterm, and then you were tested on it. And if you got it, that was great, you moved on. If you hadn't gotten it, or you'd only gotten 65% of it, you still moved on. In this system, that won't be good enough. If students aren't at proficient, then they will get additional time to get up to the level of proficiency. On the other hand, students who have moved more quickly can achieve proficiency more quickly, can move on to another area. We also are really going to emphasize formative assessments instead of summative ones. Now, this dashboard is not ours. This comes from another institution, but it's just an example. We will have a software system that will enable students and faculty to track the proficiencies and the progress that students are making on each of these proficiencies. So they don't necessarily have to wait for a grade to come out at the end of the semester. We wouldn't want them to do that. We want them to be constantly checking in to see where they are and to know what they still need to do. I think I've already referred to this, but we will accommodate different learning paces. Each instructor will have their pace. You know, this is where we need to be by midterm. This is where we need to be by the end of the semester for you to know and be able to do what I want you to be, where I want you to be by the end of the term. But students will be able to flex within that. And as I said earlier, either move more quickly or move more slowly. And finally, this system doesn't require students to spend time on things that they've already learned. I know a lot of students find that frustrating. Yeah, I've already learned this. Why do I have to do this again? And in our system, if they can show the instructor that they really have learned this, then they will simply move on to the next learning outcome. So let me transition now to talking about why UMPI is making this transition. First of all, this is the logo from the Department of Education in the state of Maine. In 2012, the Maine state legislature passed a law that requires all public schools in the state to transition to proficiency-based learning. And what we know is that students who have gotten used to that kind of system, where they have voice and choice, where the learning pace can vary, and all of those things I just talked about, if they've gotten used to that system and done well in it, they're very likely to want to continue in that system. And even more importantly, some students will have been successful in that system for the very first time. They may have struggled in a traditional school, but in this environment, they're able to achieve success. And those students are really the students that we want to become the college of choice for. Students who can learn in the proficiency-based environment, who love learning in that way. Those are the students we want to come to the University of Maine at Presque Isle. We're also doing this because we've done a lot of reading and thinking. It's very clear when you look at the latest research in the area of neuroscience and learning that these techniques cause greater student engagement, motivation. The learning is deeper and longer lasting. I won't go into all the research on this. You probably know some of it, but this is really critical to us. Why would we teach in any way that is not based on the latest research? We're scholars, we're academics, Research is what we do. Therefore, we need to know that research and base our pedagogy around it. And we believe then that that will lead to greater student success. And speaking of that, at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, as I'm sure at many of the institutions where you are working, many of our students are considered high risk. At our university, over 70% of our students fall in that category. They're first-generation students. They're economically disadvantaged students. They come from the lower 50% of their high school class. And their retention rates, as well as their graduation rates, have been lower than we would certainly like for them to be. But these are the very students that we at our university and you at many of your state universities have to do a better job of serving if we're going to increase the state and national graduation rates to that 60% that President Obama and other national leaders have called for by the year 2020 or 2025. So much of our change is focused on the way we teach and the way we will help students learn in order to improve student success and achieve greater graduation rates. And finally, we believe that this system has the potential to increase affordability. Students can get credit for learning they've acquired elsewhere before they come to the university, whether it's in the military or through professional training or through work experience. They have to go through a process to document what they've learned. It's not credit for time served, it is credit for learning. But if they can prove that, then they can get credit and not have to repeat that. And also, they can move through those competencies more quickly. Then they don't have to take as many courses if they can move through the competencies more quickly. So, how are we making this big transition? We focused in this last year on transforming our general education program, and we will be greeting our new freshman class with a whole new approach to general education this fall. We're also quickly transforming our teacher preparation program. This will make sense if you think back to the fact that I said that all Maine schools have to transition to proficiency-based education. They are desperately seeking teachers who know how to teach in this way. And the sooner we can begin producing those kinds of teachers, the better off those schools will be, and our graduates should be highly sought after. And in the next year or two, we are going to really focus on transitioning our academic majors. So we start with this year's class, and we gradually build this program over the next 3 or 4 years until we have it fully implemented. I want to talk just a minute about learning communities because these are key to our the delivery of general education. Instead of isolating students in single courses like they take English one day, they take biology another day, they take history another day, our general education program this fall will be delivered through interdisciplinary, team-taught learning communities on topics that we think will be of great interest to our students. And students will be working on achieving competencies in communication, in scientific literacy, in historical knowledge, but they'll be doing it in an interdisciplinary, integrated way instead of in a siloed way as they've always done in the past. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, wow, how are you doing this? Where are you getting the money? We were fortunate to receive a grant from the Davis Educational Foundation. It's only about $200,000, but it has enabled us to put a lot of money into faculty and staff development during this first year, and we will continue that in the coming year. We're also applying for other grant support to help us, and we're, of course, reallocating internally our own budget to support this new initiative. With the money we got from the Davis Educational Foundation, we have hired a school coach from Great Schools Partnership, which is a nonprofit entity that works with public schools. And so we've got one of the coaches who actually works with public schools now working with our faculty directly. Another key to what we're doing is transforming our library. which, students just don't use as much anymore now that everything is digital, transforming it into the Center for Innovative Learning, where teaching can be done and the academic student support services or tutoring services can be integrated much more seamlessly in with the delivery of instruction. Key to our faculty development was the identification of some faculty leaders. We asked for 10 faculty to serve as innovative teaching fellows. We got 20 applications, so we actually funded all 20, and this is a picture of them hard at work during the year here. They have really found it invigorating and exciting, but people always go, yeah, sure, that's the president talking. What did the faculty really say? So I have an interview here from one of our faculty members so you can hear directly from him.
So my name is Chris Rollon. I've been teaching in physical therapist assistant programs for many years now, and I've been here for the last 3 years. Because I've been teaching from a clinical perspective, we teach a lot of important skills to our students. And in a sense, we've been doing competency-based education for quite some time, but since becoming an innovative teaching fellow this past year, and I was able to take a closer look at what proficiency-based education really is, I realized we really weren't doing it comprehensively or adequately. Why are we expecting them to demonstrate proficiency in some areas but not others? Isn't everything we teach important? And we realized the answer to that is yes. If I have a student who misses a large section of a certain course, an exercise for instance, and they miss maybe the shoulder exercises, and maybe it's a very legitimate reason they've missed the shoulder exercises, it doesn't matter because they still are not proficient in treating that shoulder. I would never want someone to go out in the clinic and treat someone who could treat the back or the knee or the hip real well, but just say, sorry, I'm just not proficient in the shoulder because my average grade was fine. So we realized it just makes so much sense to apply proficiency-based education. We're excited to do it. We're already seeing the differences. Students are excited. We see the results right away, and I'm actually amazed we haven't been doing it all along.
It was also really important to us to have students at the center of the design, or at least the improvement or the continuous improvement of our design. So we took $15,000 of institutional money and formed some scholarships for students we're calling innovative learners. These are the students coming, many of them, out of the proficiency-based environment. And their job is really going to be to help our faculty to continue to tweak and develop this approach. We're also going to ask them to go back to their high schools and tell about how this is working and hopefully recruit more students for us by doing that. Some faculty members have already implemented proficiency-based approaches, and particularly our education program started doing it this spring. So this is a response from one of our graduates in May from our education program, and you can read here what she has to say about her experience with proficiency-based education. So we're very excited about the changes that we're making at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. We really believe that if we do our work really well, more of these 4 little cute children will be able to achieve a baccalaureate degree in the future. I hope that all 4 of them do, but at least probably 3 out of the 4. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're very excited about it. And I look forward to being with you in a few minutes on the telephone to take any questions that you might have about our approach. Thank you very much.